Today we're unboxing and taking a look at the Kess3 from Alientech, a super advanced vehicle tuning interface. Stick around. Hey everybody, welcome back to the garage, and today we're going to look at the Kess3 from Alientech. Most of you probably are not going to be familiar with this interface, and those of you that are, don't ask. I'm not going to offer tuning for vehicles on the Kess3 platform. I bought this more of a learning experience so I can expose myself to this world. This is kind of the ultimate tuner. So if you go through the timeline of tuning way back in the day, chip tuning was a big thing. A lot of times that required pulling the chip off, putting it in an interface, flashing new ROMs onto it, stuff like that. This is the maximum evolution of that. So what does this do that things like HP tuners doesn't do? Well, for one, this supports about tens of thousands of platforms. That's right, tens of thousands. So almost any vehicle out there can be downloaded or programmed through this interface one way or another. Now, there's a catch to that. It's got three different ways of programming: OBD2, bench, and boot. And we'll talk about all of those. OBD2 is pretty straightforward, but OBD2 is probably one of the least supported. And on the tens of thousands thing, that means that this thing supports tractors, trucks, semi-trucks, watercraft, motorcycles, ATVs, UTVs. It supports anything that has an ECU in it for the most part, and they're constantly adding new platforms. So you can actually go out and download the software. I don't know why you'd want to, though, to be honest with you, unless you're a super huge nerd like me. And the reason that I got it is so I can download bin files and look at bin files as raw data, which we can't do through HP tuners. Fair warning, this is a master kit. They sell a slave kit. The master kit, like I have here, that has the protocol for OBD2 cars and light duty vehicles, aka, up to 1-ton trucks, about $3,700 just for that. Now, if I want to add bench and boot programming, it's going to be probably another $3,000. So this is not for your day-to-day shade tree tuner by any means. So some of you may check out at this point in time. Some of you may want to stick around and see what's included in this and hear me talk more about it. And I'll do some videos down the road of actually hooking this up to some older ECUs, pulling the bin files on it, and looking at the bin files. But for now, let's get to opening. Alientech is a company I believe is based out of Europe, and so a lot of the European tuning companies are pretty familiar with this stuff. It's used a lot on Porsche, even Ferraris and Lamborghinis when they're not going over to like a Motec or a Civex or something like that. And so it is kind of interesting, but let's pull this thing out. Yep, comes in a giant clamshell case with Kess3 on Alientech. And we'll crack this thing open and take a look. I'm not sure what comes in it, to be honest with you. Okay, so I kind of figured this might be the case because this is the OBD. Well, actually, no, it looks like it comes with everything. You've got all these different harnesses here, and I didn't know if it would come with all of them or not because this stuff is used for bench boot tuning. This is where you would go in and so bench tuning is where you just plug into individual pins on the connector, much like we build bench harnesses to do some of that stuff. Boot tuning is where I actually crack the lid open on the ECU. You have to wire down to a boot pin on most situations, and that boot pin allows the thing to go into boot mode so it can pull the information or allow you to download the information. Here's the interface itself. Very nice interface. Now, these things are about $600, $700, so you're not really paying for the interface, you're paying for the software. to use the interface. And as I said, this is a master. They have a slave version if you're not doing the tuning yourself. So whenever you download a bin file with a master, it downloads a version of the file that's completely unrestricted, not locked out whatsoever. You can edit it. And you don't have to use their software. They do have software that specifically allows you to tune. And the big thing about it is whenever you're tuning bin files, you have to have definitions that show you where all the data is laid out. And they have a huge repository of data files or definition files out there that you can use to see what the different tables are. Because if not, you're just looking at a bunch of gibberish in binary or hexadecimal. But with the master, because you're pulling a bin file out that's not compressed or you know, doesn't have any security on it, you can open it up with any software, something like TunerCat, which is a program that's been around for decades now that's designed to read bin files. But without that XDF file, it's not going to make much sense. So it's really kind of a double-edged sword in this case where if you were to maybe take the jump, get into tuning with something like this, you want to use their software. I think it's called like Titanium ECU or something like that. And it's the software alone is I think $1,300, and then you have to buy credits. And based on the ECU, it might determine which credit you need. But we've got standard USB cable for hooking this into our computer. We've got power leads here. There goes my Alexa over there. We've got power leads here, so we can either power this off the wall or power it off of a car battery. And I'm guessing that even in OBD mode, it requires to be powered off a car battery or something because this is such a big thing. I don't know. Maybe it will power up off of OBD. But here's our OBD2 harness with the connector that comes in and connects down at the bottom there. Up here we've got universal adapters for different countries. There's America's, so we'll have to put that on there because that is not America's. Should be straightforward. Boop, boop, boop. And I say that, and I'm not going to be able to figure it out. I'm not smart enough. There we go. Now we're American. But as I said, all of this stuff up here is for boot or bench tuning. And so you can upgrade these, buy the license. Once you get this all set up and through their website and stuff like that, you can go out and upgrade it. Now, I said this is the master kit. Let's talk about the slave kit real quick. The slave, basically the same thing, except that the file that it pulls off of the ECU is protected, encoded, wherever you want to call it. You can't edit the file, and the slave has to be married to a master, which then the master can then edit it. And so the slave is for remote tuning situations like that. So if you've got a client that's across the globe, they can buy the slave and send you the file. You can update the tune, send it back, etc. Now, it's not cheap. Slave is still a couple $1,000 with the protocols. The protocols are the expensive part of it. Said the hardware is only $500-600, but the different protocols. If you were to buy one of these that had all the OBD and all the bench boot protocols on, I'm guessing it'd be at least $15,000 because car and light duty vehicles is pretty expensive. Heavy duty trucks, of course, is expensive. Tractors are expensive. About the only thing that's not expensive are motorcycles, ATVs, and personal watercraft. Maybe boats. I don't know. You can find a price list out there, but that kind of sums this thing up. And so I'm excited to get out there and hook this thing up. I've got some older ECUs, some maybe a P01 or 411, you know, stuff like that that will work on OBD2 mode. So I'll use it with my bench force to basically pull the bin file off of it. That's the nice thing about it is once you have this unit, you can interface with as many ECUs as you want. So you're paying up front. You don't have to license anything once you license the protocol, where you would have to license per ECU as if you're using their software. And then we'll take a look at bin files and kind of get an idea of what they're all about. But as I said, this is more fun than anything, just to explore something new in tuning that we haven't done. If you have any questions, hit up the comments down below. There is a YouTube channel out there, I can't remember right off the top of my head. I'll try and post a link down below that has great tutorial videos on this. So I'm not even going to really bother doing any kind of tutorials because you guys aren't going to tune with this. And I'm not trying to draw in the guys that are using these to tune cars, because I'll be honest with you, if you've got one of these, if you ponied up the cash to go to this level, you probably already know what you're doing. So just a heads up on kind of what's happening there. So that kind of wraps it up for now. If you got any questions, as I said, hit up the comments. I'm looking forward to diving more into this and trying to figure some stuff out. But for now, I'm going to get back to it. You guys know the drill. Thanks for stopping by the garage. Remember, ABT, always be tuning.